I'm sure we're all equally fascinated in the future. We would have loved to have had Doctor Who here today, with his TARDIS to take us to the future. But we've got the very next best thing in Marcus Barber, one of Australia's leading strategic thinkers, value systems analyst. He's a chap who will take us nearly as quick as the TARDIS. I'm suggesting tighten your seatbelt now, because it's going to be a fast ride on Marcus Barber's time ship.
Good morning all, it's okay, I won't stand behind a lectern because I hate them, I get nervous when I talk, so I need to be able to walk, and if I can walk I can talk, if I can't I close down. So I'll tend to walk a lot, and that can be a bit disjointed for some. I apologise for that, that's how it has to be. I also speak pretty quick, I'm going too fast, I'm going too fast. I'll back up my people who just said. Any questions so far? My job is to challenge you. My role is as a court jester for strategic management teams, senior management teams, and the court jester's role was the balance between keeping their head on their shoulders. And typically the king or queen would have their bunch of yes men, they were nearly always yes men back then, and the Royal Highness would say, what say you yes men? And yes men say, oh absolutely your highness, absolutely fantastic. And then if the king or queen was smart, they would have the court jester. And they'd say, what say you fool? And the fool's job was to try and enable the king or queen to see things differently, whilst also keeping their head. So that's the role I play. And up here I've got the futures mantra for you. The seeds of your destruction lie in the forests of your successes. In other words, what you've done in the past is also likely to be laying the groundwork for your undoing. The things that have got you so far already aren't going to be successful in the future. And there is nothing more future orientated than people development. Which is why when I met Murray over a year and a half ago, I was already talking about things that organisations should be doing with their EAPs. And Murray came up and said, we've started doing that stuff. I said, you're ahead of the game, Murray. No one else is yet. I'll challenge some assumptions you have about work and some of the labels you use. Please understand I'm doing it in the court jester role, I'm doing it in a friendly way, and if you're confronted by that and feel offended, that's good. But the idea is for you just to shake your thinking up, to see how it might change your processes. Alright, so I'm going to talk about three key themes. The efficiency drain. How are you killing your organisation as managers of human people? How are you killing through the processes you use internally? The effectiveness, how are you wasting effectiveness? Where are you just wasting hour after hour after hour? Some of the myths, and we'll talk about this management trend, and I'll get a volunteer out of the audience, and I already know who that person is, so get nervous now. Alright, so here's some future stuff. This is a really quick dump. Some of the things that are coming down the pipeline at you at the moment. The emergence of deafness is a problem. If you're hiring 20-somethings down to 14-somethings, or in 10 years' time you'll be doing that. Understand most of them will be deaf. Deaf both to the way you communicate, but also physically deaf because of the fact they wear these stupid things with things on high phones and all that. Who's got a mobile phone? Yeah, nice, just quick. Anyone not have a mobile phone? Apart from me. And I'm the futurist. You have to wonder why the futurist doesn't have a mobile phone anymore. Maybe it's because he's a fool, I don't know, but just test with mobile phones. Expertise and capability. This is one thing, particularly today we're going to talk about, is this, what you're trying to look at is how you gain access to expertise and assist with the capability development of your people. Some hold that internally already, some need to look outside, and we'll cover that. Robotics is coming, technology. Don't get excited by new technology. Because if you've got a really dysfunctional workplace, putting new, faster technology just means you're going to business quicker. So fix the processes first before you get excited about technology being the cure-all, it won't work. And crowdsourcing. Today we're going to try and do some crowdsourcing. What are your ideas? What can you take away from the collective group, as well as the expertise that's available? And augmented intelligence, that's what the apps are doing for you now. It's making people smarter. It's a pity the managers aren't catching up. And we'll address that in a second as well. And I want you to shift your thinking a little bit into human capability. I want you to start, notice the language shift. The cycle, what do? I work in human capabilities. That is very different from treating people like coal, where you put them on a train and sell shares. That doesn't work. I want you to think about the idea of capabilities. When you go back to your organisation, you want to stop killing them and strangling people through processes, shift from being a human resource person to a human capability person, and ask the question, how can we use someone's capability more effectively? How are we using it now? And that means you need to focus on outcomes, not activities. I hate activities. I hate activities. As a futurist, it's a complete waste of time to get excited about activity. Focus on productivity. You can only do that when you shift from resources to capability. Righto, let's talk about the biggest barrier to effective workplace results. What are they? What do you reckon they are? 17th century management techniques is the biggest barrier in your organisation right now. 17th century management techniques. And just to prove it, that font is Gothic. That's the biggest barrier. In other words, we haven't evolved the management of the workplace beyond Wedgwood's factory in the 1700s. When he first started putting together the model of the factory in England to make pottery, he designed the workplace and the management techniques that we still use today. And you can kid yourselves when you go back to the organisation, oh, we're not like that, that's not us. The fact is you do. Who's heard we have a workforce skills shortage? Who's heard that before? You've heard it bandied about meetings, stuff like that. Who's experiencing that in the workplace? No one's put their hand up now, do they? So it's a mythology. Right? It's a complete myth. That is just utterly false. It's a great way to deny responsibility for how you manage staff and how you get work done in your organisation. We blame the lack of skilled workers. That is rubbish. Because we know, from an organisation point of view, that what we tend to do is waste time. Our first organisational habit, the 17th century management techniques, is to waste time. And we do that by dragging people from the farms whence they once worked into a central factory location to make pottery. Only now we call that travelling to and from work. We call that an hour and a half drive each morning and afternoon, 2 hours for some people. And we wonder why people are stressed and unproductive when they first get to the workplace. And yet we force them, because of our management techniques, to come to a place in a manner that is unproductive to how they need to think about getting the workplace work done. But we don't let people work anywhere else but some central location. Despite things like job sharings that have been around since the late 70s, early 80s. Despite the concept of flexible working hours, we still don't do it. 17th century management techniques. We must be able to see them. Let's talk about capability. I'll keep emphasising that. Here's how we know efficiency is dead in the workplace. Who has a meeting on a regular basis? Aren't they just so productive? Aren't you just excited to go? Like, you get your gear and you're on time and you... Emails. Yeah, we're still, the Gen X tool of choice is email. Gen Y tool of choice starting with the mobile berries mob. You can tell how important you are to an organisation based on how many phone calls you get. So the more phone calls you get, the less important you are for the organisation. And most of the reports we get people to do are a complete waste of time. We're giving them activity, nothing productive, because if it was a report it would be on 2 pages, that could be easy to disseminate and say everything we need. This should be trained here. This is a simple training issue. Managers! Managers are the ones that need to be trained, not the staff. And who needs to train the managers? The staff. Staff? Okay. Who needs to take responsibility for the managers doing this sort of stuff? Getting rid of this? Leaders of the organisation. I want to get people... It's not the inputs. It's what do they get? What are they delivering for as an organisation? I want to get people effective. Start thinking about how you improve their capabilities to deliver outcomes. Instead of focusing, who cares if they spend their entire day at the desk with their feet up reading the paper if they got the outcome you wanted? It's irrelevant what else they do with their time. Who cares if they work from home and spend 6 hours a day shopping for new shoes or helping their kids or supporting a sick parent if they get the job done? Who cares if they log on at 2 o'clock in the morning till 4 if they get the... Who cares? 17th century managers care. People in human resources care. People who think people are cold, they care. Because they need a waste stream at the end with lots of activity to make us feel good about ourselves. Be careful that you don't fall into that trap. Boomers are not about to retire. It's a load of rubbish. They don't want to retire. They don't want to retire because they've got no cash. They've got no cash because they're guaranteed a pension. They never learn to save and things have got more expensive for them, so they can't do it. They don't want to retire. They want to stay in the workplace. They want to feel loved. They grew up in a social engagement. We're meeting people every day. And Melinda, how are you? It's good to see you again. You have to have that type of approach. They don't want to retire. But what they do want is to be able to start drawing down the hours they have. So we're talking about this idea of a slow retirement. Here's another myth. I hear one particular demographer, he's not actually a demographer, he's an accountant, but he's good at what he does. And he talks a lot about the Gen Y, the Gen X group, particularly Gen Y, everyone says they're selfish and so, what a load of rubbish. They've just been smart enough to say they don't want to buy into your career path. They're not dumb, they've watched how you work. Why would I possibly do that? They're the ones showing signs of intelligence, but yet, these are the ones that can give you access to speed and getting things done. Good technology users are able to go out to the marketplace. They have this crowdsourcing approach where they'll ask their friends, who do you know that can get me? Does anyone, So the slow engagement is the process. Don't try and dump them into the thing and think they're automatically going to lock into the 9 to 5. It ain't going to happen. Look for more flexible operating codes, and the flexibility needs to come inside your head. Look at the capability issues for the future workplace. Do less of that, do more of that. This idea of pre-sponding is getting ahead of what's required for your organisation. How do you develop people in a particular way prior to the need actually emerging? That's where you engage expertise like Assure programs or the providers you have available to you that can help you take that next step in a way that leverages the capability you already have internally and you don't have a process for yet. That's the way you get to do things. So getting ahead, readiness for emergence of things starting to change. Get away from this response and activity stuff. It's just not productive, it's not efficient, it's not effective. Stop getting excited about people being bloody busy and their desk being messy. That's not how we should be judging people's outcomes. The responsibility here resides with the human capability managers and the leaders of the organisation. And if that is you, that is your responsibility to take back to the organisation starting about 20 minutes by now. You'll be making steps and thinking about what you're going to do to prepare your organisation for the emerging future. Pre-response opportunities, you've got to get beyond this skills training to capability development of people. We talk about the battle for skilled talent, more importantly, talking about the battle for employees who are engaged in the workplace and want to add value to you. You want to keep those good quality people around. And you develop the quality people. They just don't arrive. They don't already have the capabilities when they arrive. You have to develop them in that role. But get away from that skills. It's not about how well they do Excel funny spreadsheets, I would say. Send them on a PowerPoint training program. God, people use PowerPoints and noms. Now, so, how help them be a better person? Develop resilience. I might have mentioned resilience training. Resilience to problems, stresses outside of their workplace that will give them the skill internally. And get away from it all being about just the work they do. Okay, so let's talk quickly, before I finish, the evolution of the workplace. Work used to be life. In particular, you go back to the 60s, 70s, 50s, the male of the species did the work because they were the only ones capable of doing it. And then at 65 they retired with a party and a watch, and then by 66 and a half or so they were dead. They were dead. And then psychologists started working out because people had nothing to do after work, so they started getting people to think about life outside of work. What you need to do is prepare for life after work. And so you develop these skill sets, and that's spilled over to other people. Make sure you have life. And then we've got this idea of work-life balance. There's no such bloody thing. Work is life. You can't get work-life balance. People like working long hours and some hate it. It's just discretionary effort again, remember? I'll just pick and choose. Now we're talking about life in work. I'm encouraging you to think about the idea of bringing life back into the workplace. How do you get the skills and things that you offer to your employees about their lives, not about their work? And when you bring that in to the organisation, they're going to stay with you forever. They're going to buy in, you're going to encourage people to come, they're going to want to do the things you want them to do. And because you're giving resilience training and things, they're going to keep at it even when things are tough. Or you can just train them to do PowerPoint, Excel spreadsheet courses. Your call. Your call. It's up to you.